Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be hitting the Grand Exchange with 2.8 billion GP and seeing how much I can make just by trading items back and forth on the Grand Exchange. And real quick, shout out to Buckets. He is a fan of the channel and saw me recording. Anyway, let's hop over to the Grand Exchange with a profit goal of about 8 to 10 mil an hour in mind. We're at the Grand Exchange with 2.8 bill in the inventory, and I really do think the flipping session is going to be very interesting today. We're kind of in a weird state in the OSRS market where Desert Treasure 2 hype is starting to die off, and a lot of those expensive PVM items are starting to downtrend. While this sort of market is not really ideal for investing, it is a good market for flipping as margins tend to get really large as items crash. So when you're active flipping with over max cash, my recommendation personally is to put your big items in first when you are actively flipping, because the larger trades are going to take longer, so you want to get them in first and let the time work its magic. And there we go, our first round of flips on the Grand Exchange. The good thing about a downtrending market, like I mentioned earlier, is a lot of these margins are going to fluctuate a lot as players try to figure out where the new price bottoms are. So things like the Ancestral Robe Top and the Void Wakers, Osmutan's Fangs even, they typically will experience a slightly better margin even if they're not getting affected by this downward price trend. And there we go, our first scythe has come through. Let's turn this around. We're going to try to sell this for, I'm thinking around like 542 million. That should give us a little bit of margin on it. Okay, so that is not what I expected at all. We pretty much instantly sold this for a 945k profit. We might have been able to make a little bit more money on that, so a little bit upsetting, but not a big deal. 945k for a scythe flip is pretty good in my opinion if you are active flipping. I decided to just get one Void Waker in this scenario and kind of focus on more items. That way we have a higher chance of things buying. I also put these soul runes up there because they're currently boasting a 100k margin. And look, I'm a sucker for my high volume flips. Flipping high volume items is just such an easy way to build your cash stack, and high volume items are typically a lot safer than some of these larger margin items like the Void Waker and the Twisted Bow. The way that I balance my risk when I'm flipping is I flip some high volume stuff alongside of my large margin stuff. That way my high volume flips are pretty much guaranteed profit while I wait for my larger flips to settle and really bring in that profit per hour. We just got our first Void Waker though. This should be going for about a 400k profit. Right now we're looking at about a 2 mil margin, and after tax that will bring in maybe 300k profit, but we're going to try to stretch it and see if we can get 400k. And the Void Waker has sold, but for less profit than I was hoping for, only 233k. But if that margin remains consistent, I'm going to keep continuing to flip that, as it is just a pretty easy flip. I really do enjoy flipping the Void Wakers. The Twisted Bow is jumping around a lot in price. I keep moving the price just to hope that I can buy one, but I'm not sure if we're going to get lucky there, so we might actually rotate out of the Twisted Bow and try to flip maybe the Tamekin's Shadow instead. And all of the Osmutan's Fangs just bought as well. Let's turn around and try to sell these for a pretty large margin. I'm thinking we go for maybe a 1 mil profit on these or so. Yeah, that does seem about right according to the graph. Right now I have 1.2 bill in the cash stack, but take a look at this, guys. The Tamekin's Shadow has just come down a ton in price lately. It's down like 120 mil on the week so far, but on the daily it really does look like it's about to fall off a cliff again, probably all the way back down to like 1.35 bill. That being said, I might try and squeeze a few flips in here before it crashes, but it is a very, very risky situation. Normally, I would not flip something like this because I honestly just expect this to keep downtrending, but, you know, since we're doing a video, we'll do it for the content. Oh man, I am nervous because the Tamekin's Shadow has already bought. Let's get this listed as soon as possible and really try to sell this thing off. I mean, we don't want to take any chances holding on to the Shadow for any more than we need to. Kidding, this took 34 seconds to sell and we made 1.4 mil on that. We're going back in immediately and trying to get another one because that just flipped insanely quick. Let's not get too greedy, but that is a very solid margin, especially how fast that flipped. We might be able to squeeze it a little bit larger on a profit standpoint, but I really don't want to risk it, so we're just going to move this thing as fast as we can. And lucky us, we actually ended up making about 360k on the Elder Mall, which I was not expecting at all. So pretty happy with that as well. Currently at a 3.6 mil profit on the session so far, averaging about 8.3 mil an hour. Luckily, the Temecan Shadow seems to be moving in our direction, so let's keep up this good work. By the way, guys, if you have any questions about what to flip with your cash stack or how to flip in old school RuneScape, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. I love answering your comments and just getting your own feedback on the video. Our Soul Reaper axe just bought as well, but besides that, I rotated a bunch of these flips out, decided to try to flip the Elysian as well, since that is showing a recent margin of about 5 minutes ago, and we're looking at like a 2 mil profit on that if that does flip. Besides that though, everything oh, look at that, the Elysian bought. Everything else seems to be moving pretty smoothly, so just gonna keep it going from here and see how much profit we can make. And there is another Temecan Shadow sold. That one I made slightly less profit on, about 200k less, but we still made 1.1 mil on that flip. For the next Temecan Shadow, I'm going to try to buy it for a little bit cheaper, maybe about 500k or so. That way, when we go back to sell it, there's actually a little bit more room for profit. We have flipped 4 Void Wakers so far for a total of 860k in profit. As you can see, those 230k margins really add up, and the Void Wakers honestly trade so quickly that I love to flip them. We're going in for our 5th one right now. And we did rotate into some new items as well, the Virtus Robe Top, the Magus Ring, and the Saturated Heart. These are all medium level volume flips that should move pretty easily for us. Haven't had a ton of luck on the Temecan Shadow yet, but we're going to give it another minute here. And the Elysian has sold for a 1.5 mil profit. That is amazing, guys. That is our largest margin yet. And we just had another Temecan Shadow buy as well. So we're going to flip another one of the Elysians. It just feels so good to flip the Elysian. It's like a classic RuneScape item. So when you smack this thing for a good margin, it's just so satisfying. Anyway, we'll get another buy offer in there, and wow, everything is buying up. The Venator ring sold really quick. We're already at a 827k profit on that, and we got another shadow off. This one didn't have quite as large of a margin. I think we made about 1.1 mil on that last one, but it's a consistent margin, and it's hard to complain when something is buying and selling this consistently. We're currently at a 9.2 mil profit on the session so far, averaging about 14 mil an hour, so we're doing a lot better than I expected. Haven't had any flips move for the past couple of minutes, and the Soul Reaper axe flip is not really looking that great. I'm going to hold the margin here at 142 mil, but not expecting too much to come out of that. We also have the Dragon Hunter crossbows that are starting to sell, 163k profit each, which is pretty nice. Another Temecan's Shadow has sold. This has been incredible for the Temecan Shadow. I mean, this session is nuts. We're 4.8 mil in profit on the Shadow. We're going in for one more. Fingers crossed we don't get burned. But we just hit the 10.8 mil mark on the session, which means things are going much better than expected. 11.4 mil in profit right now, and we're about 55 minutes into the session, so I think we just call it as a quick session today. I'll try to sell off the rest of what I have, but for now, let's cut back on our buy offers. I get a lot of questions about if the time of day you're flipping matters from a profit standpoint, and I just want to chime in and say yes, it actually does have a pretty big impact. If you are active flipping exclusively, during the day from like, I would say 9 AM Eastern Standard Time all the way to around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there are a lot of players online, there are a lot of trades happening at the Grand Exchange. But on off-peak hours, which I would consider any time outside of that range, there's not as many players online and margins tend to get a lot larger. But to compensate for that as well, there are less trades being made on the Grand Exchange, which means that your flips will go a lot slower. I tend to like to flip in environments that are not as competitive because I find it's a little bit more relaxing, so I do like to flip off hours when I can. We're going to leave these items in the Grand Exchange to sell while we wrap up the rest of this video. At the end of this flipping session, we made 11.5 mil, which is incredible, and we were able to flip 4 Tumecan Shadows for a profit of 4.8 mil total. I'll put the rest of the flips on screen right now so you can see all of the profit that we made during this session. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, definitely drop a like. It really does help me out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And of course, I'll see you in the next video.